Hi everyone, Ashley Mailloux here. We're going to focus in on a pick 3 sequence this Saturday north of the border up at Woodbine. It is King's Plate Day. They have a 13 race program, and before we dive into this pick 3, I just want to mention the wagering menu as a whole. There are several pick 5s to get involved in on the 13 race program. They will have guarantees, also a mandatory payout in the Super High 5. They're offering a special pick 3. It's a $5 minimum, 15% takeout. They're referring to it as the King and Queens pick 3. It's going to link the 3 main races together, that being the grade 1 EP Taylor, the King's Plate, as well as the grade 2 King Edward. And it's just a fantastic menu all day long. Plenty of stakes action around the board. We're going to focus in, though, on a pick 3 that kicks off with the King's Plate. It's race 9 on the 13 race program. Mile and a quarter for the 3-year-old, on the Tapeta. So we take a look at the slate here for this race. It's a great rendition. 13 horses entered. I think when you look at the pace scenario and how it sort of plays out, Gina Bacola and I did a full preview for the King's Plate. It's pretty even. You can look at the time form, US pace projections. It's in tiers. That's how it looks on paper. I think that's how it's going to unfold. I do think there's a good chance that the pace is a little bit more on the lively side in here. And with that in mind, I'm hoping that sets up for my top pick, the number 3 Notorious Gangster, a horse that I said it in the preview with Gino. He just races well when he shouldn't, whether it's because it's not a distance that I think he prefers, in my opinion, or because of trip. He just has a really good late turn of foot. He shows up every single time, and I think looking at his mile and an eighth performance in the plate trial, the runner-up, he got what he needed out of that race. Mile and a quarter is going to suit him beautifully, so I'll use him in here. I'll also use the other horses that I used in that preview. That includes the 10 No Time, the filly for trainer Mark Cassie, who comes in here fresh off a Woodbine Oaks victory that looked very impressive, the way that she was able to win that. Fillies obviously have had a ton of success in the King's Plate. We'll also use the number 12 Sudbury's Ghost, who defeated Notorious Gangster last time out in the plate trial. It sounded like the connections post-race were always high on this horse. Excited to get him to go longer, and he's just taken a step forward, in my opinion, with each and every start this season. So I have no kind of question marks around him in terms of the distance. I'm hoping he will offer value close to his morning line. I'll also use the 13 Ashley's Archer, a horse that, you know, they tried different things. They tried the dirt to kick off the 3-year-old campaign. It didn't fare the best for this colt, but I do think last time out, even though he was defeated, it wasn't a stakes race. I think he gained a lot out of that. Showed a lot of promise in the future. He is a half to a Canadian in terms of winner in the Triple Crown races. Colton is prime. The mare has done well. I just like everything about him, so I will use him in here. I also think he's going to offer value compared to the others. And then finally, I'm also going to use a 5th horse. I'm going to use the 4 Scorching. I know he only, has the one win where he crossed the wire in front, and then the one that he was put up when Ashley's Archer was disqualified. But in terms of his races this year, he got a late start. You can look at his full workouts if you're using those formulated PPs, and you can see they sent him to Belmont, and there were articles about him going to Belmont. Never raced there, just has those 2 races now. I think in terms of trip, they've done a little bit, things differently in those races. In terms of the Marine, I liked the trip where he stalked, a little bit more forward next time out in the plate trial, and he just tired a little bit there. I also think that the other 2 were just traveling better late, but hoping that he gained some fitness out of there. I also think he's going to offer value, which is a rarity. Besides his debut, he's always been a short price. So 3, 4, 10, 12, 13 in this opening leg of the pick 3. We will move on to the grade 2 King Edward, a mile on the EP Taylor turf course. And looking at this race, it's a little interesting. I think Cruden Bay is going to take a lot of respect. I understand why. Big fan of his. I just wonder how he's going to be able to perform second off the long layoff, going the mile trip, which I don't think is an issue for him, but I think he's probably more suited for the 7 ace. I think he gets the setup that he needs a little bit better. And with what I think will be a short price, I'm actually going to keep him out of my pick 3. I'm going to focus in on the number 5, Dresden Rowe, who he's winless so far this year, but I think he's run well in both of those races. I think in terms of return to the races, the grade 2 Highlander was a little bit of a tough spot. Look at who finished in front of him, Patches O'Houlihan, my boy Prince, and he had to roll from the back of the pack. I don't think he necessarily wanted to be that far back, but I think part of that is just due to the distance of that race being 6 furlongs. He wants to go longer distances than 6 furlongs. So when we saw him next time out in the Seagram Cup, That's going 2 turns on the Tapeta. Second best behind Swift Delivery, who's actually been in really good form this year. So I like this for him. I like the EP Taylor configuration, like him getting back onto the turf course here and then cutting back. The 1 turn I think is going to help him, and obviously he'll need to do a little bit better as he's been hitting at the minors since his grade 3 win last October, but I think this is the right spot for him. I will also use the number 8, Gas Me Up, who I'm very curious. I don't think we'll get 6-1. I think he's going to take some love off of this morning line. He's a 5-year-old who we haven't really seen much. That's a lot to do with seeing him 4 times in 2022 and only seeing him once after that in 2024. Now, loved his win in 2024 in June. Then he goes to the sidelines, which I don't necessarily love. But you look at his return to the races now as a 5-year-old, 5th best. Failed as the favorite in there, went off at 2-1, but I thought it was a decent group that he faced. Huntmaster, we've already mentioned the name Swift Delivery, so they use that as a starting point. They come back, just about 7 weeks later, I should say, and he runs very, very well to pick up his 3rd career victory. I loved the way that he did it. It was a commanding performance. He now gets Flavien Prat aboard. He's going to take some money, and I think he's sitting on a big race off the career best. So for me, going to opt out of Cruden Bay and use both the 5 Dresden Row and the 8 Gas Me Up in the second leg of this pick 3 sequence. Then we'll move on to the final leg of race number 11, 6.5 furlongs for the 2-year-old. It's the Soaring Free. And in terms of this race and the complexion on the EP Taylor and just the field, this is a tough race. I know when you look at the morning line, maybe it suggests, I don't know, that the 4 Casson or the 1 2 Out Hero are maybe the horses to focus in on. But it's a little tough to assess knowing that 2 Out Hero comes in a race that was carted for the turf, moved to the Tapeta. You have horses coming in from Colonial, same sort of situation, except for the race was run on the dirt. And go further down the page, you have a little bit of everything in here, horses coming in from all over the place. I think it makes it difficult to assess. And ultimately for me, in terms of a commanding performance, 2 Out Hero, pretty impressive on debut in a race that they obviously, horses enter that race for the turf. It moves to the Tapeta. This horse went to the front and stayed in front and drawed clear. Obviously, you don't know, in terms of the way that he drew clear in there, I should say, what was behind him. But just visually, he looked very good doing so. He's worked well since then. To me, he's always been a little bit of a fast workhorse, but the last 2 really stand out. 59-1, the second fastest of 26 workers at the 5 furlong distance, and then more recently 35-4 is sort of his final prep for this race. I think he looks tough, but another sort of situation where you enter for one thing and you have to deal with other circumstances. That's the same thing here with the number 3 Longy, who is for Graham Motion. They debuted this one down at Colonial, and I highly recommend watching the replay start to finish. It's going to take 1 minute and 6 seconds, but it's definitely worth it. This horse has a ton of trouble out of the gate. You can see the rider sort of has to check and then make a run from there, and it's pretty far back for a good portion of this race, and starts to travel well, angles out, has to swing very wide to kind of get rolling, and then draws clear by nearly 5 lengths. I know the buyer is not appealing at all. It's a 36. You can see it on paper, but I think visually when you look at the performance, you factor in it's not really probably going to be a dirt horse. Now gets the turf, which was always their intentions all along. Really like this. I think Graham Motion, when he ships to Woodbine, he certainly ships with intent, and I think probably feels highly of the son of Caravaggio. So I'll use him. He's 8-1 on the morning line. So just too deep here in the 3rd leg of the sequence. So we'll take a look at my ticket top to bottom. The spread race, it's the King's Plate. I use 5. I think you can use probably 6 or 7. I do throw a couple horses out that I think are going to take some love in there, and just made some decisions to use some prices that I think could offer value and could, score an upset in what seems to be, in my opinion, a pretty wide open field. In the second leg, it is the King Edward. I'll just go too deep. I'll use the 5 Dresden Row as well as the 8 Gas Me Up. And then in the Soaring Free, you might want some more coverage than I have taken. I just felt pretty good about the 2 that I was using. I felt like if I didn't use these 2, I was probably using 5. And I was probably going to spread a lot more. So I went with my gut, went with the number 1, 2 Out Hero, as well as the number 3 Longy. So when you look at this ticket structure, you can play it however you want, but just don't forget it's a 20-cent minimum. So for each increment of 20 cents, $4 is the ticket price. So I'll put together as close as I can get to a 50 cent, or I'll go a little higher than the 40 cent. I'll go to a 60-cent ticket and I will spend $12. But best of luck this weekend, especially if you're playing this Saturday up at Woodbine. It's King's Plate Day. It's a tremendous card and we wish you the best of luck.